joining us now to further espouse the issue and perspective is NAOB, Action Aid Nigeria's country director. Welcome to the show. We understand you were at the Collation Center earlier on today in Abuja. What is the situation there?
Well, we went to the collection center and the collection center has been declared open by the INEC chairman. We were expecting maybe more than just declaring the center open, because we have the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room has had some concerns. But it's a good thing. It's historic to have declared the Situation Room open. And so we're going back there at 6 p.m. when the collation will start. But we have a couple of concerns. Like you already shown, there are some people who are still on the queues. There are some places that you have massive population that have not, election has not been carried out. There are some environments where the elections were disrupted, and I think these Nigerians should not be disenfranchised. But one of the biggest concerns, I would say, is the fact that the IREP portal, that's the result viewing portal, the uploads are just nothing to write home about. The presidential result is not going up there. Some of the results for the Senate and House of Representatives is there, but they are not uploading the results. What we had done the by-election is by now almost 100% of the results are in, and we do a lot of analysis to ensure that wrong results are not imputed, because we have observers in different polling units, and at the end of any collation, they do snapshots of the results, and the results are also ought to have been uploaded. We know that there is a second authorization for that upload to go, but at least that upload should have gone from the polling units, and the results that we are getting is that many people are not uploading. Many of the ad hoc staff, they are not uploading from one excuses or the other. But we thought we have gone across this. We do understand the fact that we are deploying these beavers for the first time in the general election, but it worked perfectly during the off-cycle election. We had no problem at all. By 10 p.m. of the day of the election, we have almost the 90% of the results already uploaded. But so it's a major concern for us, and we thought INEC will address it. That was not addressed, and there is no upload going on, at least as at the time. I'm just coming straight from the collation center now. And so we're going back into our technical room to see what has been uploaded and what is not. But we encourage INEC, for the sake of transparency and accountability, to upload, because all of these systems, the beavers and the issue of the upload, because we are in a tech age, a lot of young people are believing in this because they feel they see transparency. They can trust the system. But when you withhold any part of the process, it becomes, it will raise suspicion. So we are encouraging INEC, we don't know what has happened. There has been no explanation. And if there are challenges, I think it is important to communicate the challenges to the public. And so on behalf of the civil society, again, we're calling on INEC to upload the results. We don't know the reasons why they are not doing it, and as they are not communicating, it leaves us in confusion. For the areas where voting has not, one of the things that has really put this election into a lot of challenges is that of logistics, which we can see, I see from your pictures that we have some polling units still casting their votes. A colleague of mine, casted his vote around 7:20 last night, and he was above 300, that's his number. And he said in that polling unit, they have more than 3,000 people. So as at 7:20 p.m., not many people have voted, but we just look at the resilience of Nigerians. I just love the fact that people are willing to vote. People have come out despite all of the odds that they find themselves. They are still willing to vote. One other area that we want to commend is the security apparatus, the synergy within the security, and the kind of the demeanor in terms of the conduct of the Nigerian police and other security agencies has been really is worth commending. However, the areas where there were troubles, we know that the police allocated police to to those environments. So what happened in those environments, I hope that the police will be able to look at it and see who were those police officers, what happened exactly, investigate into those processes, and let the Nigerians in those polling units not be disenfranchised.
Well, NLB, yesterday you presented the report, the preliminary report of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. We were told earlier on today by Maodi that, there was also another report this afternoon. If you could take us through some of the major highlights of that report that you presented. And then the point you made about the security agencies. Well, in some parts of the country, particularly in Lagos, in Delta, in Edo, the major complaint really is that the policemen, the security agents that were deployed, they were nowhere to be found. In some other polling units, the report out there is that they just folded their hands and were just looking on, enjoying the spectacle of ballot snatching or people setting fire to ballot boxes, and yet you commend them. Is that what you observed, that they did well? Because some voters do not think so.
I think I don't want to be misquoted to say that the police, you want to give them a general listen. Where something is what commendable, you commend them. In the past, we had issues, with the police, even malhandling people. We have shootings, we have different things going on with the police, with the Nigerian police. And what we are saying here is that in many of the polling units that were visited, that were observed, the police maintain themselves, they maintain the decorum of the environment. However, there are a couple of places where there were ballot snatches, and I think I made a point earlier to say that those polling units, every polling unit had at least 2 police officers that were attached to it. Where we have troubles, I think we talked with the spokesperson of the police force, and they're saying that they are putting together, what happened in some particular stations, and that they are going to come out with the incident report of the number of the stations where this occurred. And so if they have done some things, we will commend them, but we are holding them accountable. For we raised some things in our preliminary report. We did a pre-assessment report before going into the 2023 general election. And so, as a convener civil society situation room, when I opened the situation room on Wednesday, we presented that assessment that Lagos State was one of the hotspots. And the police cannot tell us that they did not know that is a hotspot. There's so many things that we received from PVC collection, intimidation during the PVC, even this continuous voter registration in Lagos and in a few parts of the country. And so we raised the hotspots, which was Lagos, Kogi, we had rivers, and we had a few other spaces where we had troubleshooting coming out of. And so I think it's important for us to look at that environment, what has gone. A lot of lessons are coming out of this, but logistics was a major issue. Some riverine areas, Ogbaru, for example, and some places in Bayelsa, some Delta, a couple of polling units up till this moment, they have not casted their votes. They didn't see ballot papers at all. And then Ajao Estate, where they were talking about, is it Etiosa, that about 11 or 8 polling units, they have not conducted elections here. It will not be nice to call elections in those areas where people are willing to vote and they have, put themselves here. And we call again, there should be some people who have acted, the security forces have acted one way or the other. I think they should be called to book. So as we acknowledge that they have done well in some places, they have to be able to respect the rights of people. How can the police look at people who are snatching ballot boxes? What are they there for? It's a criminal offense to try to snatch anything, and they have the armored tanks and everything rolled out to say if anybody wants to disrupt the election, they are going to be answerable for it. And so we are saying sanctions must be meted, and when Nigerians are ready to vote, they must be allowed to vote, and their votes must be counted. And that's why for the IREF, portal not to be on right now, we are worried about it. And so we noted the issues of security. We highlighted again the areas we had hotspot, and that included Lagos and the other areas on issues of violence against women, the woman contesting. We know what is going on in Kogi State, and we called on the IG. Day before yesterday, we called on the IGP, to ensure that the woman in Kogi is protected, so that we don't have another issue of Salome, and other women that are contesting election in different places, because this election we have more than 15,000 seats and only about 1,500 and a little over 1,500 women are contesting, and they are still being harassed in a lot of ways. So, and then one of the things we noted too was the priority line that was observed, for the persons with disability, and also nursing mothers and pregnant women, and the elderly. That was that's something that we have to comment about. Another area also is vote buying that was prominent in the past elections, that what we have seen is a different level here. We don't know what has accounted for that. We cannot say that it's because, of the total work of security, but at least security has been focusing on it. I think the EFCC rolled out numbers for every state that you need to call if you need to make a call when you notice something, and I think our colleagues have been utilizing that. And it's only, at least up until this moment, we are collating our results, but about 7% on like the open glaring, and there's so many things. Some arrests have been made. We hope that they don't just arrest, but that they will prosecute. But synergy among the agencies is very important.
Certainly. We'll come back to you in just a moment, ma'am. Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, has asked the national chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, to instruct collation officers for Saturday's election to upload the results from the polling units to the INEC portal immediately. Atiku, in a statement on Sunday from his media office, says that the call for the immediate uploading of election results on INEC's portal has become necessary to checkmate some governors who he claims are trying to compromise the results at the local government collation level. He says, and I quote, "It will be a disservice to Nigerians and a negation to democracy for anyone to subvert the will of the people as freely expressed in their votes of yesterday." End of quote. He called on Nigerians to be calm but vigilant to ensure that anti-democratic elements who are masquerading as progressives do not steal their mandates. The PDP presidential candidates also expressed gratitude to Nigerians for their support so far and pledged to continue to work hard to earn their trust and confidence. Let's bring this conversation back into the studio, because Mr. Oyemi, I know you wanted to also comment on technology and the use of technology in these elections. I mean, the BVAS system was supposed to be a system that Nigerians could count on and rely on. And unfortunately, reports of the system not working efficiently have been rather problematic.
Shino Badru, the founder of Technology Times, said, and I agree, that technology did not fail the process. What failed the process was the human-mediated processes that were in place. And I said it earlier on. And I said earlier on in the sense that in my polling unit, I got there by 7 a.m., hoping that we'll go through the mindset of accreditation, but the whole thing did not happen until about 11. Or maybe because of the kind of people in my locality who were able to moderate the process, or were able to get it done on time, but not within the time set. Now, there is something you understand about those who are involved in technology. They understand technology fails all the time. Your technology fails all the time. Twitter fails all the time. But this BVAS, that was a good technology. So the problem is not the technology, it's the processes. It goes back to the human competence questions. So I will say this thing in a way to wrap up that understanding. If you have what you call a peace treaty, for example, You only hold priesthood in times of war. If you hold it in times of peace, that means you have an expectation that there's going to be crisis. Yeah. That expectation is reflected on the organization, whereby you understand that the capacities and the capabilities of this organization will not deliver what you call a free and fair, that will not lead to what? And it has manifestly played itself out. Now, the question I want to say is that, from my position, is that where do we go from here? All these reports you are getting may not be, maybe, I would not doubt that they are true, because I've seen some that are true. But in the balance of it all, there are two questions we need to ask. What was the fail-safe contingency plan in place for where such happens? Second, in terms of the aggregate numbers, is it so significant enough to affect the free and fair position? As I stand today, and where I am today, I do not think it is that much. But if you defranchise everybody from Bayelsa and Delta, they will never feel a part of it. And to Ruben's question, that what are the most important things we need to focus on, is for everybody to feel a part of the process. And I think that's the larger issue we should spend our time on. And even as we discuss these sub-issues to show, in fact, if there's anything, it validates my original position that in 25 years, we haven't built enough competence to organize an election to do so. Now, if you're having this problem around elections, what do you then have concerning census? Which is happening in months from now, which is a much more bigger issue on that which we define our revenue, our allocations, and our own projections and our plans and development plans. That's a more serious issue. So on a more serious note, I think the conversations around this thing should, for those of us who are in the media and who are commenting, is to take a more serious perspective about the issues that we are talking about here now. Not just the elections, but the ramification of it. And there's one last point I must not forget to talk about. The Gen Z vote that occurred here, it is crucial for the sake of this country that they must get the sense that their votes mattered and their voice mattered.
Yes.
If they lose, they will acknowledge that they lost fairly. But it must not be on the basis whereby they lost because there were incompetencies by those of us in this generation.
And that's the worry.
Yeah, okay. NLB, let me come back to you. We're going to have shortly on this program Ebere Fendo, who is your colleague in civil society. And one of the things I'll be asking her will be female participation in this election, the participation of women in this election. In one state, we have a woman who is going to be a gubernatorial candidate. In another state, we have a female candidate who has been protesting that roads to our area in Kogi Central were excavated. But the state government says no, it's to prevent terrorism. But the woman says she's been targeted because she's a female candidate. But, you know, general comment on women participation in the process. 52% of the electorate in this election, you know, are women.
Thank you very much. The issue of women participation is something that has really traumatized us. We look at that issues of women involvement in other climes where you have a shortfall of women participation in terms of gender representation. Deliberately, you try to accommodate the population by making sure that you are able to bring them through constitutional means, and Nigerian women have attempted that. You know, those who are gender sensitive, different civil society organizations worked on the bill which was presented at the parliament, you know, the 5 gender bills that were presented, which Arise was part and parcel of, you know, those who not only covered but promoted the issues of women participation. And that led to, and those bills were thrown out, you know, where we protested and we locked down the front gate of the National Assembly for 4 legislative weeks. We were there in the sun. But the leadership of National Assembly never even bothered. You know, few of them came to address the women, and it looks like, you know, these are palliatives, as if they're doing women a favor by bringing the representation. I always say that you know, the quality of any decision that is being made in any boardroom depends on who is in the boardroom. You cannot decide for the women without the women. In some of the state assemblies in this country, about 11 of the houses of assembly, you have not even a single woman, and you have women committees being chaired by men. How do you get to know what really is the problem of women when you are not a woman? You don't know what it is to go to the maternity ward. You have no idea what it is not to, when you have no food to give children and they are looking at your faces and you don't know where else to turn to. You have no idea because you cannot wear women's shoes. But we have been talking about this. We also have a sitting president who made a promise in 2018 because we thought now, okay, let's engage the politicians. And so he made a promise to Nigerian women that he will bring representation to 40%. This promise was made on the 28th of August 2018, that if he comes back to power, he was going to make 40%. And up to now, you see where the percentage is. So the patriarchal nature of Nigeria is making it almost impossible for women to occupy their space. And this was Nigerian women, you know, fought for the independence of this country. The likes of Funmilayo Ransome Kuti of blessed memory, Gambo Sawaba also of blessed memory, and Margaret Ekpo of blessed memory. These are women who were not graduates, but now we are having graduates in our millions. We have engineers, we have even retired judges, we have lawyers, millions of judges, you know, in every cadre. We have professors, you know, in different parts of the country, and yet, you know, the occupation. So I think it's about building the agency of women. If we're able to bring together women and youth together, we will decide who becomes president, who becomes governors in this country. And so standing by and just watching and thinking that the men are going to get it is not coming through. Because if you have a male parliament, so if you have a male parliament and you are trying to take decisions, nobody is talking about it. You know, who will represent you? And when you are taking bills, in Nigeria, we have maternal mortality like no other. We are like, I think Nigeria is now at the bottom when we are not, we are considered not to be at war. But so who is deciding, who is talking about what it is, about those who are dying on the maternity death road now? You know, it's only when a man goes to the maternity ward with a woman, you know, goes with a wife, or with a woman, that he understands what really it is to go to the maternity ward and the baby is not coming, and you know that life is being threatened and there is nothing to do. When we are also in crisis, when a woman is carrying heavy pregnancy, there is no way she can run. And it's only a woman who carries pregnancy that, you know, that happens to. And so we are having a lot of crisis in the country. Women representation is not there on the table where they are taking decisions about peace, about conflicts. But when there is crisis, because always when you hear that 2 people have been killed, or 3 people, or 4 people, whether they are the police or their army or they are young people or they are old people, a woman's umbilical cord has been cut. And so it's important to bring women onto the table. You are not doing them a favor. Women don't have tribe. We try to correct all the issues of indigenship and so on and so forth. A woman can take off from, like I took off from Benue, went to Anambra State. A woman can even take off from Lagos State and straight to Germany, you know, because we don't have tribe. The tribe of women is humanity. And so it's wrong how our politicians have been taking it. We walked through IPAC. They said they were allocating some seats for women even at the IPAC level. They have not, when I asked the IPAC chairman the other day what is going on, they said they are changing the policy, and so the policy will allow for women to come on board. Where women are tired of the, women's wing and so on, the women representative of, we represent humanity. We don't just represent women.
Absolutely.
Any position I have gone for, I go there because I'm a woman. I go there because I'm a human being, not as a woman, but as mothers. We have heavy duty, and those duty cannot be done unless we're able to share positions.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry to have to cut you off here. We do need to go on a quick break on the program, and we will be back with more as Nigeria Decides 2023. Welcome back to Arise News. Like a sore thumb, the greatly reduced percentage of women among those contesting for public office has again raised questions about equity and some would say justice around Nigeria's attempt to embrace democracy. What has created this gulf about gender representation and what continues to feed into it? Is it a self-inflicted wound, as some have insinuated, or a wrong that can be redressed or willed into existence by mere wishful thinking? Ebere Ifendu, a lawyer and president of Women in Politics Forum, joins us now for more on this topic. Many thanks for joining us on the program, Let's get your thoughts on that introduction that I just gave to this. When we're looking at the problem here, because even the majority of newly registered voters ahead of these elections were women. But when it comes to women in representation in politics, the outcome is few. What are your thoughts on this situation? What is leading to this? And why is this recurrent and something that we continue to see election cycle after election cycle?
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for having me. Listening to you, the introduction, you really said it exactly as it is. For Nigerian women who have come up, to learn how to participate in politics, but that's actually like as voters and as also few candidates also, but the awareness of us participating is there now. But the issues are still there. The issues of patriarchy, the issues of culture, religion, and then most especially the issues of our legal process. There is no legal documents to ensure that a certain percentage is reserved for women. There's also no internal party democracy. And women actually are not part of the party executive. So you find out that we just have few positions. Our usual position of the woman leader in quotes, and maybe at times even the recruitment process of the woman is also not, what the women themselves, had input in. So the major problem for me, and I've been saying this, is legislation. If we can get a legislation like in the Constitution, Electoral Act, Party Constitution, and sanctions also, where women will have a certain percentage. And then we'll also be looking at proportional representation as what we have in other African countries. Is there in Kenya, is there in Tanzania, is there in other countries. So if a political party will not take like you just get it and nobody is talking about the minority might just be like 10% lower than the major party. So how come all the other parties that participated, that scored certain percentage of votes, are not even allowed to nominate their people to the National Assembly or State Assembly? So I'm thinking that proportional representation will help women. I'm also thinking that legislation that talks about affirmative action will help women. I'm thinking also that parties having their constitutions, because they already have it, they have affirmative action. The problem with it is implementation. A party will tell you that they will need to domesticate their own constitution to be able to implement affirmative action. So we hear some of these stories and it's very discouraging. And for me again, we have done our part as Nigerian women. We are the National Assembly. We presented bills. We had a strong advocacy team. We did everything, reaching out to individual parliamentarians. And on the day of voting, we were all there. And they voted against all the 5 bills. And then you begin to wonder, these are people who rely on us to give them support to win an election. We are waiting for the results of this election to be announced. But what is going on? You will find out that women voted more. At least we saw a case of a woman who was even wounded. She had a deep cut on her face, and then she just went to, get a first aid, and she went back to cast her vote. This is to tell you that when women are determined to do something or get something done, they go out of their way to get it done. So for me, I think we need legislation, we need proper support from men, and we need the political will to achieve that. I'm saying this because Nigerian women went to court against the federal government on the Nigeria gender policy, because we do have a policy, and the policy, by the way, was just reviewed last year, towards the end of last year, and this is a document that they've not even implemented the first edition, and we have reviewed it again, you know. So we need political will. We got judgment from the Federal High Court, and unfortunately for us, we thought we've, you know, settled with everything, but the Attorney General, you know, appealed that judgment, and this is not right. And this is a political, you know, party that is asking women to participate in politics, that made promises to Nigerian women that they will give them at least 35%, you know, appointment. And if you look at the ministerial appointments, where are we? Just about 7 women as ministers. And so because this is what is going on, we decided to, you know, try it out with the judiciary. We got judgment. One will expect that the government will honor that judgment. No, they appealed it. And then again, women decided that we have to come together and begin to work from the grassroots up. So we set up a constituency team. The constituency team carried out a kind of research on behalf of women that Women in Politics Forum championed, the Inclusive Friends championed the Persons with Disabilities angle, and the Youth Hub also championed, you know, the angle, you know, for the youth. These 3 vulnerable people, like they always call us, we came together. And then we brought out a document. And in that document, we also had a place for commitment to show that if you're going to support our cause, then you'll sign into the commitment page. Why did we do this? This is just to ensure that by the time any of those people that, you know, signed into the commitment page gets elected, and then by the time they get into the International Assembly or they get into, you know, the president of the country, and they are not living up to those promises made, we will have a document that will, you know, use as an accountability tool, and the document will show that you signed into it, and of course we have our copy, while the whoever signed will have his or her copy. And again, we took photographs also, so there will be something, that, I mean, a document for us to use as an accountability tool.
Okay, if we could just explore this further. It's good you pointed out the ruling of the Federal High Court. That was in April 2022. Apart from that, in the lead up to the in the lead up to the elections, we've had manifesto to which political parties were invited to sign that what you call the manifesto and all of that. Now, what has been the response from the political parties, you know, in this election, in the lead up to this election? And what lessons can we learn from those other African countries, like Rwanda, where, you know, women representation is over 50%, 51.6%, like South Africa, where it is 48.6%, like Ethiopia, where it is 47%, like Senegal, where it's even close to 60%. What is it that they have done in those countries, including Kenya, that we have refused to do here, despite the fact that we have a national gender policy and the court has also ruled, and the politicians have signed a manifesto?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Ruben, for that. Like I just explained to you, most times when it's election period, you will see politicians come up with so much promises. I'll say this because even before the 2019 elections, we had President Buhari, you know, who made commitments to Nigerian women. I remember that we had a conference that he participated physically himself. And at that conference, he talked so much about how reliable, how trustworthy, how competent Nigerian women are. And he also made promises. Before the conference, we had town hall meetings, both in Lagos and every other, Abuja and other places. And the same thing that we got from the president is also what I'm talking about, because at this time again, they have started with promises. Political parties, first of all, they told us that they will want to have an inclusive constitution. Women in Politics Forum worked with the political parties who were ready for us to work with them. We helped ADC, and we also make presentations to the PDP and APC Constitution Amendment Committees. APC adopted our recommendations, PDP adopted some of them, and ADC adopted all. And then what the question now is, why are they not implementing, you know, their constitution? We got to a point where we had to reach out to INEC, and we said to INEC, look, this has to be a criteria. people must obey their legal documents. If the constitution of a political party says that they will give, elective seats to maybe 20%, 30%, 40% of women, it is your duty to ensure that the candidates or list that they will submit to INEC will have certain percent according to their constitution. And the moment they are not fulfilling that, INEC should not receive that list from them. We have reached out to the National Assembly to see that this also forms part of the constitution amendment process. We are talking with political parties. We've reached out to stakeholders. We even had to get leaders outside political circle to reach out to the political parties to ensure that, look, integrity starts from obeying your constitution. So for Nigerian women, I think we have done so well. You talked about the manifesto. So many organizations, we are about 300 and something organizations in Nigeria that are members of the manifesto team. And we also brought out, like one is the constitution women want, and then where we want to be in all our demands. The over 300 organizations signed into that document. And the document we presented to the stakeholders. Political parties adopted those. In fact, verbally, they will tell us, oh, this is wonderful. Because we also, individual organizations, use the manifesto to reach out to lobby, to advocate for seats for women. And at the point we were doing that, we got assurances from political parties that they were going to make sure that women participate more. They will create an enabling environment for women. And we believed them. So after they submitted the list and then the candidates list came up from the INEC, we realized that we were just, playing with people who didn't show sincerity. And, for me, I hate to say this, but they are making us feel that they lack character, they lack integrity. You cannot make promises to Nigerian women. We are 47% of registered voters. And you know that you will be needing us in future for us to vote for you. And then you make promises to us without fulfilling those promises. It shows lack of character. It shows lack of integrity. On my part now, like I just talked about the GAIN document, the gender inclusion document that we prepared, is the reason we had to put the commitment page, so that when you make commitments to women, you sign into it, and we'll have an evidence. Thank God we have the media. We have our rights on our side. We have other media agencies on our side. We can come up and to say, look, this person made so commitments to Nigerian women. He signed into this document, and he's not fulfilling it now. So we can hold that person accountable. And if the person feels that it's not enough, then and it means that the person should not be a leader. Because if you are a leader and you lack integrity and your character is dented because you made promises that you are not keeping, that will tell people that you should never be trusted. And at least if we cannot do anything at that particular time, by the next cycle of election, it's only 4 years, you will have Nigerian women to contend with. So you see, again, I want to say, Dr. Ruben, that when the gender bills were rejected at the National Assembly, if you recall, Nigerian women occupied the National Assembly. We had 10 legislative days, disrupted proceedings, and ensured that they did not have access to the National Assembly, even though some of them sneaked in through the back door. But at least we stopped them, from passing through the main gates of the National Assembly. And what that did for us was that it helped Nigerian women to take ownership of our problems. Nigerian women from the grassroots, from different levels, from different cadres, supported the protest. Every day of that protest, we had a minimum of 1,000 women gathered there. Nobody funded us. Nigerian women funded themselves, and we made a loud statement. And I tell you that I don't want to talk about or preempt the results that will be coming in. And I know that the awareness we created with the National Assembly that we blocked will, manifest in some results that will be coming out, especially from the FCT. So for Nigerian women, we understand that at this point, like they will say, you do on your own. We have realized that. And then it means that we have to come together and then form a formidable team and then be able to fight men. Because it's no longer like we are going to start advocating and begging. We must take a drastic step to get this thing solved.
Certainly, and one step that you took that you mentioned is that you said that you confronted INEC with regards to parties not meeting this minimum requirement. Mrs. Efendu, what was the response of INEC to this, first of all? And secondly, Womanifesto, for the sake of our viewers who may not be aware of this, can you give us a brief overview of Womanifesto?
Okay, so when we reached out to INEC and we asked INEC that, you know, they will have to enforce the constitution of political parties, INEC told us that they are not in a position to do that because there is no specific law giving them those powers. But I still argue with them, because if I'm going to register a political party, or we are going to register a political party, and we bring in our constitution and our manifesto, it means that whatever we have there should be binding on us. And we are still, you know, discussing this with INEC, because I strongly believe that for me to present those documents to you, it means that whatever I'm doing will fall, you know, within the constitution and manifesto of the political parties. And if I am getting them registered, INEC is getting the organization registered as a political party, the first thing INEC should require from the political party is for them to implement whatever is in their constitution and in their manifesto. So I do not believe that it's beyond INEC to, you know, get political parties to implement their legal documents, because they put up those documents themselves. INEC did not put those documents up for them. Nigerian women did not do that. In a way to get Nigerian women to participate in their political party, they made all those promises and they put them down. These are verifiable documents because it's their constitution and it's their manifesto. I still believe that INEC can do something. And what are we really asking for as, you know, manifesto, as organizations working together to ensure that women participate in politics? We are saying that a minimum of 35%, because we want the implementation of the national gender policy. We are saying that a minimum of 35%, you know, should be given to Nigerian women. For me personally and for my organization, I even said we have to get it 50-50. If the constitution says we are equal, why are we now asking for 35%? But so we are also agreed that we must take one step at a time. So let us get the gender policy, and then we'll begin to work towards the constitution. Because the constitution made it clear that what we are all equal, and so it means that 50% of women and 50% of men. Like what is happening in Senegal. In Senegal, they had lower percentage. They seek to get affirmative action. We are not able to get affirmative action before they decided to challenge the constitution. And from the legal process, they got 50-50. And that's what Dr. Ruben just talked about, the percentage of women in Senegal. And so today in Senegal, for elective positions, it's 50-50. It took them some time to get to that point, not because of a legal instrument, but because, you know, it would take them a little time to come up. But today, what are we saying? We are celebrating Senegal. Just recently, Sierra Leone also passed their own law. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. And what is it? Why is it so difficult for Nigeria to accept that Nigerian women are doing so well? We can see what is happening. If you look at like banks, you know, and other organizations, women are leading. Women are transforming that sector. How come we are not going to have the same opportunity to transform the political sector, the governance sector? Somebody posted something yesterday on Okonjo-Iweala, and Nigerians, you know, both men and women started celebrating, and I'm like, she is a Nigerian woman. Would we give her an opportunity to come and contest and become the president of Nigeria? The answer is no. Nigerian men will bring up their ego. They will bring up patriarchy. They will bring out culture. And so many things will come out to stop her. But today the world is celebrating Okonjo-Iweala. The world is celebrating Amina Mohammed. What are we talking about? We have qualified women. So for us as Women Manifesto, we are saying that, look, give us a level playing field. Let Nigerian women come out. We have women with character. We have women with integrity. We have the mental capacity also. We are strong. Now we can do a lot of things to transform Nigeria. So why are we not having that opportunity?
Okay, well, this question, I would like to bring Femi Awuyemi in here, but I also like you to talk about it. Yesterday, we saw the picture of a woman who has become the symbol of violence against women. Her name is Efidi Dina Jennifer, who was attacked by thugs in the Surulere area of Lagos. With her face bandaged, with her head bandaged, she still managed to vote. And violence against women is a major threat to gender representation in this environment. Yes, we have the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act of 2015. You talked about equality, section 42 says, of the 1999 Constitution, says nobody should be discriminated against on the grounds of gender, circumstances of birth, or faith, and all of that. But still, you know, women are the biggest victims in this society with regard to violence. I would like to start with Femi Aoyemi, whom I know to be a women-friendly citizen. You know, how do we protect women against violence, political violence, and others?
This particular one is shortest response. For the picture, that woman, short of coming to tears, the first thing I wanted to do was, if I had the chance, to reach out and provide her all the care we can afford. There's no room for such behavior under any circumstance. But you know what the woman showed us, which was much more powerful, was her resilience to decide to stay and to go back and vote. That woman made sure that men were weak. Those men who attacked her, she showed that she was stronger than them, because what it took, with blood dripping from her face, she still stood for what she believed in. And for me, there's no place for that in the country like Nigeria today. But more importantly, I think that beyond what the authorities must do, men of goodwill should look forward to encourage that woman and thank her for what she did, to send a message that the votes of the Nigerian citizens is far much more important, even beyond the gender issue. But in terms of gender, our woman has always led the way, and she led the way also in this particular situation.
Okay, once again, her name is Ifidi Bina Jennifer. She showed courage, as you said, resilience. With blood dripping down her face, she still went back to cast her ballot. But let's now, before we come back to you, quickly return to the National Collation Center in Abuja, where the INEC National Commissioner in charge of voter education and publicity, Festus Okoye, will join us, but we understand he's not ready yet. So let's come back to you, that your commentary on violence against women.
Yes, Dr. Ruben, violence against women in politics is real. You know, it started gradually. We received calls from women contesting elections talking about their posters being removed. You know, it was just talking about posters and banners being removed. And then we got the shocking one of the woman leader of Labour Party from a constituency in Kaduna State that was killed in her house. And if you recall the last election, a woman was also killed in her house in Kogi State. And then we graduated from there also to receive, you know, calls from Kebbi State, that also the Labour Party woman leader, her livelihood was also destroyed. And then we have had several, you know, incidences of violence against women. We've had even the use of fake news, the use of social media, where they will remove the woman's head, you know, someone's head, and put a woman's head on a naked body, you know, just to blackmail the woman to either step down or not to contest, things like that. And then look at what happened again in Lagos yesterday, because we kept talking about violence against women. We reached out to the IG of police and to ask that women contesting elections should be protected. We also asked that enough security operatives should be at the polling stations to be able to ensure, you know, that there won't be violence. But you see that the people, these police officers that were at the polling stations had no, you know, enough equipment. Like, they didn't have guns, they were just there like civilians. And so in certain situations, they also decided to leave the place and, you know, to run away. That woman is the face of our democracy as we speak today. That woman did not just make, you know, Nigerians proud, especially she made Nigerian women and African women proud. Just had a first aid, came back to ensure that nobody will, you know, intimidate her to the point that she will not be able to vote. That her vote, I tell you today, is worth more than ₦1 million. That woman, like you said, we need to celebrate her. On our part as Women in Politics Forum, we are going to look for her. We are going to celebrate her in different ways. We owe her an award, because I have to tell you, sir, what she did yesterday was just to show that, look, we have reached a point where nobody will intimidate us against, you know, doing what is truly, you know, in our place to do. So Nigerian women this time came out to vote like every other person. our percentage. I watched a video yesterday of a very young girl who insisted that they were going to, they will not leave the polling booth, polling station until they, count the votes and record. So this shows that the awareness is there. This shows that at this point that we are ready as Nigerian women to not only vote, but to defend our votes. And this is gradually going to lead to a point where we will decide now that we will be voting for only female candidates, because we really need to take over this country. And if we have the strong numerical strength that we exhibit, we should also use it to ensure that we will be able to control the ballot. So I'm very proud of the woman. I'm very proud of every other woman that went out to vote yesterday. Some of our observers reported to us that they had to observe elections under the rain, and this is remarkable. When the rain started yesterday, so many people left the polling stations, but our people stayed back. So the resilience is there, the commitment is there, and for the people that violated this woman, we are expecting that the IG of police will come out and make a statement, get those perpetrators arrested, and of course they must face. They must be, properly punished. It is not the one that happened in Kogi State, that a woman died in her home. She was burnt in her home, and the perpetrators, when they caught them, somebody got as small as 5 years imprisonment, which is not right. And so if violence against women is not properly handled, you will see that what they are targeting is to ensure that we stop, participating in politics. But I tell you, with what happened in Lagos yesterday, 90% of Nigerian women are more, resilient now. They have seen that it can be done. Our sister did it on our behalf yesterday in Lagos, and we will remain perpetually grateful to her.
Certainly, and it can be argued that, to be honest, Nigerian women have always had this resilience and have always wanted to go out and vote. But one interesting pattern that we are seeing election cycle after election cycle is that less women are running for office. We have this graph up on the screen based on INEC data that shows a decline in women running in parliamentary elections over the past 3 election cycles. Why are we seeing this decline? Whereas you just said 90% of women are ready to go out and vote, we're only seeing in the last election cycle 9% of candidates being women. Why are we seeing such a decline? And that's both for the Senate and the House of Representatives.
Yes, like I said, when I was making my earlier speech, I talked about internal party democracy. I also talked about funding. If you recall that some political parties in this country sold their nomination forms for as much as 100 million. And I mean, if you want people to participate, it has to be in an inclusive way, where everyone will come in, coming in from an equal perspective. But you see, high cost of nomination forms is a very huge concern to Nigerian women. And the Electoral Act did not even help in this area, because even the Electoral Act also talking about how much a candidate can spend. If you look at it, we also, the presidential election, we are just narrowing it to like about 3 or 4 persons. You see, but we also have other people, even though men, that are contesting, but because of funds, we are not able to see them and understand, their manifesto towards Nigerians. So the problem we have is the problem of funding, is also a problem of political parties not creating that space. And that's why I'm talking about legislation. That's also why I'm talking about INEC coming in to defend Nigerian women by ensuring that whatever constitution or manifesto you bring into INEC to enable you get registered as a political party, you must live up to it. So these are the things that we need to get in place. We also need the support of the media. The few women that even got a ticket to run as candidates, most of them didn't get enough visibility. Media most times will not come to, go to such people. They will go to people who can afford them. But thank God, again, I must confess that all through this election, we had a good relationship with IRISE. I hope that it will still continue. They gave us opportunity to invite women to the station to speak on their manifesto and what they will do differently. So I must congratulate IRISE as much as I congratulate other media houses. But we need more visibility. We even had to train journalists on how to, you know, report women. Most times a woman is given an opportunity to speak. No one is even talking about her mental state. No one is even talking about what she's coming on board with. They will just see her as a figure, you know, a fashion figure. Somebody whose interest will only, you know, be fashion and maybe the house and everything. Somebody called me and was asking a question about one of the, you know, foremost front runners, a woman front runner in this election. And the question was, is that woman still married to her husband? And I asked, what's your business with that? Will you call a man now to ask a man whether the man is still married to his wife or not, or if he's still with his children or not? So you are looking at her, and what you want to dig into is her personal life. Why would anybody want to do that? And that question actually came from a journalist. And I refused to answer that question. And I told him, I said, it is none of your business. So this is what it is. When they see us as women, they want to ask you, why your husband allowed you to participate in politics, and nobody is asking the man if he actually took permission from his wife to be in politics. So we want to, you know, be seen and assessed as individuals and as women with capacity. Well, if you could just hold on. You know, as women that can hold, you know, forth, and not just because we are women, you think that you have to take permission either from your husband. Tomorrow they will even move the post to tell you that you have to ask permission from your children.